What's going on, everyone? So Russell Westbrook has been very solid for the Los Angeles Lakers. He's really done a full turnaround in so many ways when it comes to just accepting his role, embracing that role, coming off the bench, being just such a huge playmaker for the Lakers. He's been a lot more aggressive since Anthony Davis has been out and has really kind of helped the Lakers kind of stay afloat while Anthony Davis has been absent. The Lakers are still only like 2 games out of a playoff spot. LeBron James continues to be LeBron James. Anthony Davis, when we get back, hopefully can get back into form, get back into the swing of things, and maybe we can make a real push to get into the playoffs, and then maybe once you're there, who knows? You trust Russell Westbrook, LeBron James, and Anthony Davis to get it done. Russ has been our bench, right? And he just gives the Lakers such a different look off the bench, right? How many times have we seen just the team kind of, go in a little bit of a hole? They'll be down like 14-4 or something. Russ will come into the game, and all of a sudden we're up like 16-14. And it's just, he just plays with just such energy. He's been great defensively for the Lakers and just been, again, a real bright spot so far this season. Now, this team isn't the best team suited for Russell Westbrook, and he's been in trade talks since the offseason, right? I mean, so much so the Lakers were going to trade him for Miles Turner and Buddy Hield. They were going to give up both first-round picks, and the Lakers ended up deciding not to go that direction. Jeannie Buss wanted to see what Russell Westbrook could do and kind of trust and see if Darvin Ham can kind of turn Russell Westbrook around, which he did. And credit Darvin Ham for that. Credit Russell Westbrook for actually buying in and being willing to do so. That was something that many people believed he would never do, and he did. And he's done a great job in that department. But as we move closer to the trade deadline, the Lakers are very limited in just players and sizable salaries that they can use to go and make moves to improve the roster. Now, they could take Patrick Beverley, Kendrick Nunn, Lonnie Walker, and get some sizable contracts. There's even talks about the Lakers going after Bojan Bogdanovic and maybe trying to get like a Nerlens Noel. Personally, I would rather them get Alec Burke. You could take Patrick Beverley, Kendrick Nunn, and Lonnie Walker and get either Bojan and Noels or Bojan and Alec Burke. Again, preferably me. I'd rather have Alec Burke. You get those 2 shooters, put them next to Russell Westbrook, put them next to LeBron James. I think that would just elevate not only the Lakers, but both of them as well, to have actual, dead-eye shooters that could really help. And Russell Westbrook, because he's been such a positive for the Lakers, it makes trading him very difficult because most teams don't see him as the net positive that the Lakers do, right? Because those teams don't want Russell Westbrook as the player. They all have their own incentives, whether it's they want the Lakers to take on long-term salary, they want the Lakers they're willing to just take on Russ just to get the first-round picks. Some teams just want to clear salary space. Some teams just want to move off of players and are like, hey, well, we don't want to just lose this guy for nothing. Let's go and move this guy. And for a while, we haven't really heard much as far as Russell Westbrook potentially being traded, and that the Lakers are not just going to trade Russ just to trade Russ. We did get a report a couple weeks ago now that most teams still view Russell Westbrook as a negative, and the Lakers would have to attach a first-round pick for a team to take on Russ. If you're the Lakers, that makes 0 sense. Right, and I'm not against the Lakers making a trade and giving up the first, right? But you can't just give up the first and give up a positive asset player just to give up a positive asset player, right? You're better off just going and taking an unprotected first and maybe a couple seconds or something. And like I said, go get Bojan and Alec Burke, or maybe look at the Hornets deal and take on some of the long-term salary, right? You could package a couple guys, go get, 2 pieces from that team, or maybe the Spurs or whomever, right? And keep Russ at that point. You'd also have his bird right. So if you get the right pieces, you could re-sign him, especially if he is continuing to and willing to accept that bench role. That's something we will have to see. But if other teams are looking at him as like it's a negative asset, it makes it really hard for the Lakers to bite the bullet and trade Russ. Now, I'm not against them trading Russell Westbrook at all. If you find the right moves that help not only this season, But, the future seasons, the next 1, 2, 3 seasons, I think you do it because the Lakers only have $30 million in cap space, and that's not a lot. You're not going to be able to round out, a full roster on $30 million. You're going to sign one quality guy, and then there's all your money. And then it's vet minimum guys, mid-level, and then the biannual. And that's basically it. And the Lakers are just in a really tough spot where if you could take Russell Westbrook and use him as a trade chip, you can take back like $56 million in salaries, in future salaries. So that would be great. And a lot of teams would be willing to do that. A team like the Hornets, maybe. Maybe they'd be willing to give up Gordon Hayward, Terry Rozier, Kelly Oubre. Maybe you can even entice them to take on a PJ Washington as well. And if you could get that package along with, LeBron James and Anthony Davis, I think you're in a good position for the next several seasons. That would be, I think, a huge move for the Lakers. But we did get a new report that says the Lakers are still shopping Russell Westbrook and trying to look at deals. So here's what was said. So during Devaney's discussion with the Western Conference executive, some additional trade options for Westbrook were discussed, with the onus being on taking back long-term contracts to sweeten any potential deal. Heavy.com's Adam Taylor wrote. So again, you see that they're willing to trade Russell Westbrook, and the enticement is like, hey, we'll take long-term salary, right? Because the Lakers, again, the salary cap this offseason doesn't really mean much, right? You're not going to get much in terms of quality players that are going to fill out an entire roster. And you're going to kind of be in the same position you're in, where you have a bunch of guys that are playing roles that they shouldn't have to play because they're supposed to be, your 7th, 8th, 9th best guy rather than your 3rd, 4th, 5th best guy, right? So if you're going to trade Russ, you got to find, not only do you got to find a deal that makes sense, and if you're going to take on long-term salaries especially, you have to be willing to have those players be guys that you believe can help you contend for the next several seasons. It's kind of a rough spot for the Lakers to be in. It really is, especially when it comes to Russell Westbrook, because he has been so good for the Lakers, and he has been like all of the bench. But if you can get 2 or 3 quality starting level players, then that now puts guys that are starting on the bench. So now hopefully you get better bench production, right? So let's say the Hornets deal, right? If the Lakers are willing to take on long-term salary, if you could take on say Gordon Hayward, PJ Washington, Kelly Oubre, and then like I said, maybe you could get, if you could get PJ attached to that, whatever, right? Hey, we're taking on long-term salary. We're doing this. We're clearing your cap space. You're going to re-sign Bridges. You're going to have Bridges, Ball, and you may end up with Victor Wembanyama. That's a good core. And you'd have $100 million in cap space. That's a great place for them to be in, right? So that might be a solid solution for the Lakers. And then in that case, you could go and take on all those long-term salaries. You could have a starting 5 of let's say Terry Rozier, Gordon Hayward, LeBron James, Anthony Davis, and maybe PJ Washington, something like that. Or you could go Kelly Oubre and bring PJ off the bench, right? That's a really good starting 5. And now you have Dennis Schroeder, Austin Reeves, Lonnie Walker, Patrick Beverley. I mean, you could still, if you still have a first, then maybe you could take some of those guys, maybe go get another quality piece or two. Maybe you could still do the Boyan deal, right? That would be very solid, especially if you could do something with the Hornets to where you only have to give up 1 first. Then maybe you could take, Patrick Beverley, Kendrick Nunn, Lonnie Walker, unprotected first, maybe a couple seconds. If you could still get Alec Burke and Boyan, that would just be, chef kiss. That would be the best case scenario. Maybe the Lakers look at the Pacers deal. There's still a lot of reports that the Pacers and the Lakers could still come to a deal. Some reports have even said that that kind of seems inevitable, that sooner or later that's going to get done. I wouldn't completely put it past the Lakers. I wouldn't be shocked if that's the case. But are they willing to give up both first-round picks in that deal? Does Indiana come down? Especially if we move closer to the trade deadline, do they look at it and go, well, hey, we're probably not going to keep Miles Turner. Do we really want to lose him for nothing? He's kind of been outspoken about the Lakers and kind of seems like he wants to be there. Does another team want to trade for Miles Turner if he ends up being a flight risk and they can't get a commitment on a long-term contract? there could be variables in place that really kind of add some form of leverage to the Lakers. Maybe it doesn't, but it is a nice situation to be in. Again, I don't mind the Lakers trading Russell Westbrook if it's a trade that makes sense. Again, if you could do a Hornets deal or maybe a Pacers deal or whatever, preferably if you could figure out a way to do multiple deals, that would be just amazing. But if you could do something where it's like, you get, again, the Hornets deal, and then you go take the other pieces and you go do like a Pacers deal, then you're just in a great spot because now you have that team for the next several seasons. So let's say you don't win this year, right? Like, let's say it's a little clunky, it's a little awkward because one concern that definitely makes sense is obviously chemistry, teamwork, camaraderie, all that stuff, relationships, all those things, right? Let's say you don't win this year, right? Like, let's say it's a little awkward. Like, guys are trying to still find themselves, figure out their roles, stuff. Good thing is that next season, you'd have a full offseason, a full training camp, and a full preseason to build that chemistry, and you'd have this team for the next several seasons. And now, if LeBron James can continue to be LeBron James for the next 2 years at least, and then Anthony Davis, if he could be, Anthony Davis that we've seen him be able to be, as well as now we have the depth and the talent to ride out Anthony Davis missing, 40 games a season. If that's the case, well, then now we could be a legit contender, right? And now we could be a legit contender for the next several seasons. That would be ideal. And especially if we could get a guy like PJ Washington, who now we have a young piece for the future as well. If you have PJ, you have this year's coming up draft pick, unless you end up trading it after you end up drafting the guy. But let's say you have that, you have Max Christie, if you can retain Austin Reeves. Right now you kind of have, you're starting to put together this young core. Maybe you could even go get like a Cam Reddish. Like, imagine if you could have like Cam Reddish, PJ Washington, and Max Christie, as like your young core for the next several seasons. That would be amazing. You have a young 6'8", sizable 3-and-D wing. You got a sizable 3-and-D shooting guard and a sizable 3-and-D power forward. Now you're just filling in the blanks as once you move into the post-LeBron era. Like, that would be very solid. And then you still have enough talent and enough pieces now to even contend this season. Like, I just think that would be huge. So it's interesting. I'm not against the Lakers trading Russell Westbrook at all. I'm not against the Lakers trading both first-round picks, but you got to find the right deal. It's got to be something that makes sense. You can't just make a trade just to make a trade. No trade is better than a bad trade. We all remember Luol Deng and Timothy Mozgov. That was a deal just for the sake of doing deals, right? That was just like, I just want to get something done. That was Mitch Kupchak trying to save his job and try to make something out of nothing. So I don't want to see the Lakers end up handcuffing themselves for the next several seasons unless it's a deal that absolutely makes sense. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion, so I pass the question on to you. Love to hear your thoughts and opinions, so let me know down in the comments section below. What do you think? Do you want the Lakers to trade Russell Westbrook? Do you think that they should? Do you think it just depends on the deal? Do you want them to keep him? Go do another deal. Go trade some of the other pieces, keep Russ, re-sign him next season. However you feel, whatever your thoughts are, I'd love to hear them. Let me know down in the comment section below.